Aaliyah Monroe felt the cold weight of the courtroom air press against her chest as she sat beside her twins, Liam and Aria, clutching their tiny hands with all the strength she could muster. The air smelled faintly of polished wood and old paper, but what struck her more was the sharp, bitter taste of humiliation settling in her throat. Her late husband, Darius Monroe, had been gone only 3 weeks, and today was supposed to be the reading of his will, a ritual meant to bring closure, yet it had become a stage for cruelty. His family, sharp in their tailored suits and sharper in their disdain, whispered behind their hands, shooting venomous glances her way as if her presence alone had been an insult to their inherited grandeur. When the lawyer cleared his throat and began to read the contents, Aaliyah's heart thumped so loudly she thought the entire room could hear it. She expected some injustice. After all, she knew Darius's family had never welcomed her, never even tolerated her presence. But nothing had prepared her for the crushing absurdity of what came next. $5, the lawyer announced, and the words hit her like a physical blow. The amount was insignificant, laughably small, as if to mock the life she had shared with Darius. Her fingers tightened around her children's hands, forcing herself to maintain composure, though her lips trembled. Liam's wide eyes mirrored her confusion, and Aria's small grip on her sleeve was the only anchor keeping her grounded. She looked to the Monroe family, their faces a canvas of smug satisfaction, as if they had just orchestrated a symphony of shame. Aaliyah swallowed hard, feeling the bitter sting of tears that she refused to let fall. It was at that moment that the envelope caught her attention. A smaller, sealed envelope lay on the table, separate from the main documents, marked only with Darius's unmistakable handwriting. Ethan Caldwell, the lawyer who had served as Darius's confidant, and, unbeknownst to her until now, a former FBI agent, approached her with measured steps. His presence carried authority tempered by a quiet warmth, the kind that suggested he had faced storms before and survived. "This was meant for you alone," he said softly, handing her the envelope with reverence. The hush in the courtroom seemed to deepen as Aaliyah broke the seal, curiosity mixed with dread tangling inside her chest. Inside, she found instructions written in Darius's firm hand, each word deliberate, precise. He had anticipated the cruelty of his family, the kind that would leave her and the children vulnerable after his death. The $5 was no oversight. It was a key, a clue to something far greater than the sum itself. Darius had suspected foul play, had meticulously documented the activities of his relatives, ranging from financial fraud to political manipulations, even to connections that flirted dangerously with organized crime. Aaliyah felt a shiver run down her spine. The innocence of her children's small hands contrasted sharply with the dark reality her husband had shielded them from. She looked at the twins, remembering the stories Darius had told them at bedtime, stories that often carried lessons of bravery, integrity, and the quiet strength of the human heart. It seemed that lesson had not ended with his life. Ethan explained the gravity of what she now held. Darius had constructed a careful path for her, anticipating every move the Monroe family might make. The $5 was tied to a safety deposit box containing essential evidence and resources to protect her family. He didn't trust them, Ethan said gently, his eyes scanning the room as if the walls themselves could betray secrets. And he wanted to make sure you had the means to survive whatever comes next. Aaliyah's pulse quickened as she digested the weight of his words. The twins tugged at her sleeve, sensing the tension, and she forced herself to smile, whispering, "Remember when Aunt Mabel tried to bake cookies at midnight? That was chaos, huh?" Liam giggled nervously, and Aria clapped her small hands, a brief, grounding moment of normalcy amidst the storm. As they left the courtroom, Aaliyah felt the cold wind hit her face, carrying away some of the suffocating tension. Ethan drove them in silence for a few miles, the kind of silence that isn't uncomfortable but weighted with shared understanding. "We'll need to retrieve the deposit box soon," he said, breaking the silence, his voice calm, strategic. "Your husband planned for this. Every step you take now must honor that plan." Aaliyah nodded, absorbing his words. Her heart ached with the sting of betrayal, yet a spark of determination began to ignite. She glanced at her children in the rearview mirror, their eyes wide, trusting, and it became clear that she could not falter, Not now. Not ever. The deposit box was located in a discreet bank far from the city, chosen for its anonymity and security. Ethan guided her through each step, from the security protocols to the final unlocking, the air thick with anticipation and a sense of quiet triumph. Inside, they found the first pieces of Darius's carefully concealed legacy: documents, property deeds, stock certificates, bank information, and stacks of meticulously organized evidence exposing the Monroe family's corrupt dealings. Every paper, every account, was a thread in the tapestry Darius had woven to protect his family. Aaliyah ran her fingers over the folders, feeling the tangible proof of her husband's foresight, his love, his relentless determination to shield them from harm. Walking out of the bank, Aaliyah felt a mix of fear and exhilaration. The $5 that had seemed so meaningless now symbolized everything her husband had fought to leave behind for her: protection, justice, and the promise of a future where her children could grow without fear. The twins clutched her hands, their innocence a reminder of what she was fighting for, and she felt a warmth settle in her chest, a quiet, stubborn hope that no one could take away. Ethan's presence was reassuring, a reminder that strategy and courage often walked hand in hand. And as they drove toward the secure location Darius had prepared, Aaliyah realized that humiliation had been transformed into empowerment. She looked at the city skyline fading behind them, the courthouse a distant memory, and allowed herself a deep, steadying breath. Every humiliating glance, every whispered insult, had been a stepping stone toward this moment. With the twins by her side and Ethan guiding the way, Aaliyah felt the first pulse of true control over her destiny. The hidden inheritance, the clue of $5, and the legacy of Darius's careful planning were not merely material. They were instruments of survival, of reclaiming dignity, and of ensuring that the Monroe family could no longer dictate their fate. Aaliyah Monroe's hands trembled slightly as the car wound its way through the quiet backroads leading to the hidden estate. She had imagined a mansion with sprawling lawns and marble floors, but Darius's foresight had prepared something far more pragmatic: a secure, secluded property built with safety and stealth in mind. Surrounded by dense woods and shielded from prying eyes, the house seemed unassuming from the outside, yet every element of its design whispered meticulous planning. Ethan Caldwell parked in the shadow of the garage, and together they stepped out, Liam and Arya clutching her fingers like little anchors of hope and purpose. The children's laughter broke the tense quiet, a light, reassuring sound, and Aaliyah smiled despite the weight in her chest. "You've got this," she whispered to herself, echoing Darius's silent encouragement, and a wave of resolve settled over her. Inside, the house was an unexpected blend of comfort and high-security innovation. Hidden cameras, reinforced doors, and a network of concealed communication devices formed a lattice of protection that would take the Monroe family by surprise. Ethan led Aaliyah through each room, explaining the operation of every system, the logic behind every escape route, and the significance of the underground passageways leading to long-abandoned mine shafts. Each detail revealed Darius's careful anticipation of threats, his deep understanding of the Monroe family's ruthlessness, and his unwavering commitment to her and the twins' safety. "He didn't just leave you money," Ethan said quietly, almost reverently. "He left you to survive." Aaliyah nodded, absorbing the weight of those words. The security specialist Darius had hired arrived the following morning. Olivia and Nathan Chun, former FBI agents whose presence exuded competence and calm authority. They greeted Aaliyah with warmth that contrasted sharply with the tension she had grown accustomed to, offering a sense of safety she hadn't realized she craved. "We're here to make sure no one gets through without you knowing," Olivia said, her tone firm yet reassuring, while Nathan added, "and to make sure you can protect what's rightfully yours." The twins peeked curiously from behind Aaliyah's legs, and she chuckled, whispering, "They're like superheroes, huh?" Liam grinned, his imagination already painting them as guardians in capes, while Arya clutched her favorite stuffed animal with wide, trusting eyes. Days passed as Aaliyah, Ethan, and the Chins meticulously organized the contents of the safety deposit box, uncovering layers of Darius's planning that extended far beyond finances. There were property deeds in remote locations, stock certificates from companies with long-term growth potential, and even access codes to bank accounts hidden under layers of legal and digital protection. The most chilling discoveries were the files detailing the Monroe family's illicit operations, fraudulent deals, evidence of bribery, connections to dangerous organizations, and even subtle methods of manipulating public records. The more she read, the more Aaliyah realized the depth of Darius's foresight. He had prepared for every possibility, including attempts on their lives. The gravity of his love, mingled with the gravity of the danger, tightened her chest. Ethan guided her through exercises to maintain vigilance, teaching Aaliyah how to monitor the surveillance feeds, interpret security alerts, and communicate discreetly in emergencies. Olivia and Nathan ran drills with the children, incorporating games that were both fun and educational, showing Liam and Arya how to respond calmly to unexpected situations. Aaliyah marveled at how seamlessly her family adapted, laughing softly at their resilience. Remember when Aunt Mabel tried to bake cookies at midnight? She teased one evening, and the twins erupted in laughter, momentarily pushing the shadow of fear aside. Even in the face of looming threats, the home pulsed with the warmth of family, laughter, and shared determination. Aaliyah's days blended strategy with subtle joy. She spent hours reviewing the evidence of the Monroe family's crimes, cataloging files, and securing digital backups while the twins drew pictures of their new home, depicting it as a fortress of adventure and safety. Every decision she made reinforced a pattern of foresight Darius had instilled: anticipate, prepare, protect. When Ethan reminded her that the Monroe family would not remain idle, a shiver ran down her spine, but the fear was tempered by preparedness. Aaliyah embraced her role as protector, teacher, and strategist, her love for Liam and Arya transforming into an unshakable resolve. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the mountains surrounding the estate, Aaliyah sat on the porch with Ethan, sipping tea and reflecting on the journey that had brought her here. "He truly thought of everything," she murmured, a mix of awe and sadness in her voice. Ethan nodded, his gaze distant as though he could see Darius's careful hand guiding them even now. "He did. And now it's up to you to honor that." Aaliyah's eyes met his, the weight of responsibility settling into her bones. She looked at her children playing in the garden, their laughter a melody of hope and innocence, and felt a fierce determination. Whatever the Monroe family attempted, she would meet it with intelligence, courage, and the legacy of love her husband had left behind. As preparations continued, Aaliyah began to explore the hidden passages and long-abandoned mine shafts connected to the estate. Each corridor revealed a new layer of strategy, a new method of defense, and with each step, she grew more confident in her ability to protect her family. The Chins coached her through defensive maneuvers, emergency protocols, and contingency plans, weaving their expertise into a safety net that made the estate almost impenetrable. Even the twins began to internalize basic safety routines, turning fear into empowerment, their playful curiosity becoming an essential part of the household's defense. Aaliyah watched them and felt a swell of pride. Darius had not only left a legacy of protection, but had inadvertently crafted a new kind of childhood for them, one where vigilance and fun coexisted. Late nights were reserved for strategy sessions and quiet reflection. Aaliyah pored over evidence, memorizing names, patterns, and behaviors of the Monroe family, understanding their capacity for deception and manipulation. She recognized that this battle would not be won by force alone, but by intelligence, planning, and patience. Every hidden account, every secret deed, and every precaution Darius had embedded became a tool in her hands. With Ethan's guidance and the Chin's support, Aaliyah transformed her initial fear into a structured approach, a mental map of safety and empowerment. She whispered encouragement to herself during these nights. "It's okay to feel fear, but you've got this," internalizing the mantra that would sustain her when the stakes became life-threatening. The estate began to feel like more than a refuge. It became a command center, a place where Aaliyah's resolve met tangible preparation. She mapped out defensive strategies, coordinated escape routes, and familiarized herself with every inch of the property. The twins, now confident in their routines, laughed freely, their innocence shielded by layers of meticulous planning. In those moments, Aaliyah felt the full weight of Darius's foresight, the brilliance of his mind interlaced with the warmth of his love, and she understood that the inheritance extended far beyond money. It was knowledge, safety, and the unshakable courage to face adversaries without flinching. The days blurred into weeks as the Monroe family's inevitable moves loomed closer, but Aaliyah's confidence grew. She had transformed humiliation and fear into preparedness and empowerment. Every document, every security measure, and every lesson she absorbed was a step toward reclaiming control over her family's destiny. Even in moments of quiet reflection, watching Liam and Arya play under the protective canopy of the estate, Aaliyah felt Darius's presence guiding her. She whispered to the children, "This home, it's your shield, and we'll make sure no one ever tears it down." The estate, once a mystery hidden behind $5 and cryptic instructions, had become a sanctuary of love, strategy, and resilience, ready to withstand whatever the Monroe family would attempt. Aaliyah Monroe's pulse quickened as she watched the first signs of intrusion on the estate's surveillance monitors. The Monroe family had arrived, their intent as cold and sharp as the winter wind that cut across the mountain paths leading to her sanctuary. She crouched beside Liam and Arya, who were quietly following the drills Olivia and Nathan Chen had taught them. "Remember your safe spots," she whispered, her voice steady despite the storm of adrenaline rushing through her veins. The estate, a fortress of Darius's foresight, seemed to hum with readiness, each camera, sensor, and hidden passage a silent guardian. She felt Ethan's hand on her shoulder, a reassuring anchor. "You've prepared for this. Trust the system and yourself." The Monroe family moved with arrogance, unaware that every step they took was anticipated. Aaliyah monitored the house's internal systems from the secondary command center she had discovered days earlier, her fingers flying over the controls. Hidden doors sealed behind them, cameras transmitted every action, and strategically placed deterrents slowed their advance. The twins, tucked safely in a reinforced room with Olivia and Nathan, giggled nervously when a trap door beneath a Monroe cousin gently clicked shut, temporarily separating them from the rest. "It's like a secret game," Liam whispered, his small hand gripping his sister's. Arya's eyes sparkled with a mix of fear and thrill, and Aaliyah felt a surge of warmth, realizing that even in danger, resilience and courage could flourish. Ethan's voice cut through the tension, calm but urgent. "They're trying to isolate you. Keep moving according to the plan. Use the mine shafts if necessary. Don't engage directly unless required." Aaliyah nodded, adrenaline sharpening her focus. Using Darius's maps, she guided each maneuver, shutting doors, activating surveillance alarms, and rerouting security systems to confound the intruders. Every step she took was calculated, informed by both Darius's instructions and her own growing intuition. The Monroe family's smug confidence began to crumble as they encountered barriers at every turn, realizing too late that Aaliyah and her children were not defenseless. As the confrontation escalated, hidden passages revealed strategic vantage points and escape routes, allowing Aaliyah to maintain control without direct confrontation. The Monroe family's attempts to manipulate the situation, to frame her for imagined misdeeds, collapsed under the weight of evidence Darius had preserved. Financial records, video footage, and encrypted documents were ready to expose their corruption and criminal operations. Aaliyah coordinated with Ethan and the Chins to ensure that law enforcement would receive every piece of incriminating material, making it impossible for the Monroe family to claim innocence or turn blame. She felt a mix of vindication and relief. The humiliation she had suffered months before was transforming into empowerment, justice unfolding on her terms. Finally, cornered within the estate's outer perimeter, the Monroe family surrendered, their arrogance replaced by fear. Aaliyah stepped forward, her posture calm, yet commanding, the twins clinging to her sides. "This is the end of your games," she said softly but firmly. The legal teams had arrived, guided by Ethan's precise coordination, and the Monroe family's crimes were laid bare. Aaliyah watched as they were led away, the weight of months of fear and preparation releasing in waves of quiet triumph. She embraced her children, whispering reassurances, a gentle humor softening the edges of a long and tense ordeal. Remember when Aunt Mabel tried to bake cookies at midnight? Nothing scarier than burnt dough, right? Liam laughed, Arya giggled, and in that laughter, Aaliyah felt the full circle of her journey: protection, resilience, and reclaimed joy. With the Monroe family held accountable, Aaliyah turned to the future. She created the sterling foundation in Darius's memory, dedicating it to families who needed protection from corruption, betrayal, and threats to their safety. The estate became both home and headquarters for her mission, a place where lessons of courage, foresight, and love could flourish. Every document preserved, every strategy enacted, reflected not just Darius's foresight, but Aaliyah's growth from a widow humiliated in a courtroom to a mother and leader ensuring justice and safety for others. She often sat with the twins, recounting story, enforcing lessons of integrity and resilience. "It's okay to feel fear," she whispered one evening, watching the sunset over the mountains. "But remember, courage grows when you face it with love and preparation." Aaliyah knew that through strategy, patience, and unwavering care, her family and legacy would thrive, a testament to Darius's love and her own indomitable spirit. Moral lesson: Aaliyah Monroe's journey is clear and deeply resonant. Life can unexpectedly strip away security, dignity, and comfort, leaving individuals vulnerable to betrayal and manipulation. However, preparation, foresight, and unwavering love for oneself and loved ones create a powerful foundation for resilience. Humiliation and fear, while deeply painful, can be transformed into empowerment when met with courage, strategic thinking, and steadfast support. True justice is not about revenge, but about safeguarding what is right, protecting those who cannot protect themselves, and ensuring accountability for wrongdoers. Families can thrive when trust, communication, and vigilance are paired with kindness and patience. The legacy of love and careful planning, even in the absence of a loved one, can become a blueprint for survival, empowerment, and meaningful impact in the world. Through Aaliyah's journey, viewers are reminded that even in moments of despair, hope, and courage, when nurtured with love and foresight, can create profound change, allowing not just survival, but transformation, healing, and the creation of a positive legacy for generations to come.